What's good? It's me, Ben's Listening, and I'm back again for my weekly rotations. Only one album really dropped this week, being James Blake and Lil Yachty's Bad Cameo. My favorite tracks so far are Woo, Missing Man, and Twice. Yachty's contribution on this reminds me a lot of his debut studio album, Teenage Emotions, which, funny enough, actually got largely hated on around that time and still to this day. On the first listen, the first two tracks were alright, but honestly, it seemed like James Blake was carrying and Yachty was just along for the ride. A few days later, I re-listened to the whole thing, and I'm glad I did because I needed that refresh. I think going into this project, I was a bit biased against Yachty just because of the music he's been dropping recently. I fuck with him heavy and I always have, but ever since Let's Start Here, he's just been seeming a bit forced to me. I don't know, I just haven't really been vibing to his music as much. I watched the interview that they did together leading up to this album, and I actually really liked his answers. It made me respect his part of the album that much more. Although hearing of James Blake before, I've never really tapped in with his solo music like that, but after listening to this album, I'm definitely going to check out more from his discography. That is basically it for albums, but Toliver did drop his deluxe for HARDSTONE PSYCHO. Both the original tape and the deluxe were pretty solid in my opinion. My favorite track on here was probably Donnie Darko featuring Lil Uzi Vert. It's a pretty fire song, but it's actually weird. The beat sounds like it was made for Yeat, which is even more weird because Yeat had his own feature on this tape titled Geeked Up. That song was cool, but it's probably not something I'd have on repeat. Milkreset and Marlon Dubois, two Shed Theory members, dropped this EP titled Sex is Art. This was a bit weird for me. I know they're pretty versatile, but the last thing I was expecting was for Marlon to start rapping like Lil TJ. They low-key went off though. Your Body kind of sounds like FN by Lil TJ. Most of this EP is on some New York auto-tune type vibes, I feel like. You Said You Loved Me is probably my favorite song so far. Another EP to drop this week is Octi and Wintercastle's Too Famous University. I've talked about them before, but they're usually on some glow type beats with their own little flair to it. They definitely got more of a new gen sound, and in my opinion, they're definitely some of those people who are pushing the boundary right now. I'm actually kind of curious what a collab between them and Youngster Jack would sound like if that hasn't happened already. My favorite track so far off this is Para. So I did say that's it for projects, but Denzel Curry has actually dropped a few tracks off his upcoming album, so let's talk about that. I'm late to this Hot One track featuring Tia Kareen and ASAP Ferg. I heard about the freestyle when it dropped, but honestly I didn't check it out until Black Flag Freestyle featuring that Mexican OT dropped recently. Mexican OT is someone who in general I've been sleeping on for quite a long time. I don't know why, but I just never really got into his music much until recently with his collab with Maxo Cream. These two tracks are fire, and it definitely got me hyped for this album Denzel got dropping at the end of the month. So we only got 3 singles this week, and I'm about to start with 1942 by Benji Blue Bills. All year long I basically just been waiting for him to drop again and drop again, but I get he's trying to take it slow and let the buzz build up. His last album went crazy, and I just know his next one is going to be a moment to remember. After Campaign Blue dropped is when Cardi dissed him, which is really when he started to blow up. This track is fire. I fuck with the beat heavy, and he did his thing on this for sure too. His beat choices so far have been amazing to say the least. His main producers from what I've seen is AR and Mayday, but this track is actually co-produced by Shit and Kari, another frequent collaborator of Benji's. Next up, we got Rule 5 by Tony Shhnow. If y'all keep up with me, you know Tony was my most listened to artist last year. This year, he's kind of slowed down his releases a bit, but he's still been hella consistent and doing his own thing. I wasn't really feeling this track at first, but after re-listening, it grew on me. I honestly had higher expectations for him, especially this year, but I guess he just got complacent as a lot of these other rappers do once they blow up. Regardless, I'm still looking forward to see where he goes from here. Lastly, we got Tobey by Eminem, Big Sean, and BabyTron. This is a collab I was not expecting at all, but it was definitely a pleasant surprise. I really don't be listening to Eminem like that, but he actually went off on his verse. He actually sounded a bit like B.O.P. Kosher at first in my opinion, but everyone did their thing on this. I don't care what anybody says, Big Sean has always and will always be one of my favorite rappers. If I remember, BabyTron's dad was actually connected in the industry, and he actually had relations with Eminem and Insane Clown Posse, so growing up, BabyTron was actually surrounded by a few of these bigger artists. Go give some of these tracks a listen and let me know which was your favorite. That's all I got this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.